Yeah,
Your car is covered in snow.
I know.
I stirred up the nest a little bit, eh?
Well, that's what you're famous for.
We're so lucky to have you.
Well, am I wrong? I mean, the people just beating a dead goddamn horse.
Well, I think, my personal opinion, and what do I know? I think it's a good thing to leverage the millage against. Because I think in the end, the people would rather vote for a millage than parking.
But the problem is we can't wait.
I know, but we'll figure it out. Rachel, now
Yes, sir.
you have a big presentation that, John's never really participated other than Saturday, which I understand he was not only he was like the hero. Right?
I don't know if I would go that far.
Well,
It's not.
I understand that, everybody wanted to get on that wagon as fast as they could.
They went up and down the hill as fast as they could.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was the savior, because below zero was a tough day.
It was.
Rachel, I
The
watched
sun
that.
was out. It was a beautiful day.
I was there, Rachel, do you know that?
You were?
Yeah, I went, and at 8:30, when just Victor and Dana were there. And I told them, how I didn't feel well, and they told me to go home. But I was there for a few minutes,
Oh, good.
and Victor said that there were gonna be parking meters at Kiwanis Park. Here's a picture. You know where Loretta lives?
No.
You don't know? Okay, so that's Charlie's Run.
Yep.
And then.
Well, she's down past Gorman's.
Yeah, Gorman.
Yep.
There used to be us and Gorman's, but then Cadoodles lived there or whatever the name.
Yes, Noodles.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, they went out that, he sent me that at 2, but they took that up just after 1 when they heard and,
That's that red light, that's the fire trucks
yeah,
coming in.
yeah. So, yeah, then they were up there. Then later they walked up, I guess, or Taylor.
Gotcha. Yep, that was after they got everything knocked down.
So, I mean, they were there quick, but I went by this afternoon, and saw all the, everything up in the
This
trees.
was,
Up in the trees.
that's a picture of.
There wasn't as much fire because the whole thing.
It was all down the
blew away.
hole. Everything's in the basement. So that was the
Yeah.
first truck,
Wow,
getting there.
yeah, wow.
Or
Yeah,
the second, this was the second engine coming in. The first truck had already just pulled in.
yeah.
So everything's down, everything's in the basement.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
It's something, I mean, scary.
yes, it is.
Uh-oh. Now, Rachel, how do you feel? Because when I was there, they said, you were not so well. Yeah. All right, all rise, all rise.
Hey, guys.
How do you do it? I watched you this morning on the council meeting.
I know, I'm kind of like ducking my head in shame. I want to make sure that.
Why? You didn't do anything
No,
bad.
I need to apologize to you.
Huh?
Well, I
Would you
kind of
like?
lost my
Wherever you'd like to
train
sit, I'll have to get a
Had nothing to do with
tag
it.
for the color.
No one wants to
I
sit
just got
by
tired.
me.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, well, we'll stay away from you.
Yeah, you know, 'cause I caused a lot of trouble.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
You making some.
Get your corner.
I just wanted to, so we, when I got lost my head, I just wanted to
See
say
the
it had
big
nothing to do
screen.
with
I didn't even call you. Sam.
I want the big screen. This little screen is not good.
I apologize.
Larson.
Yeah, when I
Officially
seen
meet
you up at Kiwanis, I had no idea you were
Got it.
this woman, so.
This is me. Yeah, one and the same. Yeah.
And I saw her at Nubs today.
Yes, I just got home, just dropped Henry off and
Yeah.
Snow
took my
pants.
snow pants off and.
Little brutal out there
Yeah,
tonight.
well, the kids are all like, are we gonna have a snow day tomorrow? Are we gonna have a snow day tomorrow? I'm like, no.
Snow will be done by.
Yeah.
It's
Slippery.
snowing pretty good though.
It is,
You know,
yeah, it
compared to what
really,
we've had.
it really picked up.
So
It's
we
up to
heard
6
the
inches.
explosion last night. That was crazy.
They've changed that.
Yeah.
Is the recorder on?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes,
Some
we
guy got
are on
hung up with
YouTube,
the gas,
so,
or they
you
got
know.
hung up.
Preliminary
Technically,
date,
you're being recorded.
it's gas, but trying to figure out what,
What happened, yeah.
I've been on the phone all day and I just texted the state police.
Yeah, so you know, the fire was, is this, now it's 3 houses away from
What's that?
Loretta. But I mean,
What?
the explosion and everything, they- you know, they only live
Yeah, they do.
100 yards away.
From the fire?
I mean, my fire meetings we do, but.
Yeah, and Taylor took pictures from the
Should be
driveway,
safe.
you know, won something. Sent 'em.
Ask Dan.
Well, you know where we live in Summit,
Or the tree board.
Bill shot out of bed. He thought something like fell
I
on the
remember
house
doing
in the
that.
garage,
Wow.
fell down or something. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, you
Did you
can
hear
admit,
We don't do
No,
my
I
fire
didn't.
work.
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't hear
I know that.
either, didn't we?
There's a friend on Second Street.
I did it my whole part for it, but like.
yeah.
She
She was
liked
on
it.
I mean, they're 100,
There's somebody
Yeah.
else
100
that-
yards
Do you
away
guys
from
do
it.
the pledge at DDA
You know,
meetings?
they've jumped
Did
for sure.
Did they get any damage?
No,
They explained.
no.
How are you?
Yeah, it's very sad. It's scary.
Hey Josie, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, sit there because you're the vice chair.
That would make me the chair and I'm not the chair.
I know, you can't be.
Do you know
But
everybody, Josie? Do you know John Cubs? Josie
Yeah.
We've,
Baker?
yeah, we met, yeah.
Hi, Allison Larson.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
It's too bad you don't get to skip school,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
It was a lot better when you started.
that's okay.
Well,
How's our beloved director feeling today?
I can't find those, coffee filters to save my life that I said that I bought for the office. Remember when we were up at Kiwanis?
No, they
and
were
I
in
said,
one of the boxes. I laid hands on them yesterday.
I know, I can't find them anywhere. I don't know where I put them.
You know what else I left there? All those,
I've just had a day
hand
from
and toe
now,
work.
so.
I gotta get.
Okay.
It's perfectly okay.
Grab those before this weekend, because there's no rentals there.
Okay.
It's not done.
Or I can grab them and drop them off. to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Or, yeah, or allow me to keep for a minute.
I'm gonna start the recording.
Okay.
I'll,
That's okay, John.
no, I'll get with you tomorrow. I'm gonna be around town, so I got it.
I'm sorry that happened. My goodness.
Yeah. That's the third explosion I've been on. That's by far the worst.
Oh, yeah, just a horrible. I heard about it, the house that exploded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We heard it last night.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Hello.
Hey,
Is this still?
you're right.
Parks.
Go on up there.
Okay, I heard, something that woke me up at 1 o'clock, the boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now we get to see you not all bundled
I
up
was
with
just
winter
gonna say,
vest.
did you see
Well,
it?
I don't, I always wear a mask, but if we're safe, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Ooh, the wind is picking up.
Yeah.
It's getting slick on the roads.
I'm sure it is, and the wind was, I just walking.
Snow's coming down finally.
Yeah. Nub snap vest on.
What?
You got your nub nab vest
Oh, it was
on.
great skiing today. Nobody was there.
Did you go, you must have gone in the morning?
I went from like 11:30 to 2:30.
Okay, and we were there from 1:30 to 3:30.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, yeah. Good. I found a 4-year-old in the woods, down, she was trying to get out, she was in a gully.
Yeah.
And her father was way down the slope without any poles, and she just couldn't get up that.
Couldn't get.
So I had to get up to her and I gave her my poles and I pulled her out and I wanted to say to the guy, you can't, she's
Gotta
only
be
4.
behind.
Yeah,
you.
stay
Yeah,
behind.
you gotta be behind, be behind her, but I mean, she wasn't hurt or anything, but, maybe he wasn't, although he looked like he was a pretty good skier, but he had no poles, but anyway, I was laughing, I was glad I came around,
Oh, now you don't have
Okay.
it.
Have to bear with me. This is the first time I've had to use the entire system. Oh. All right, it is 6 o'clock, so we will call our meeting to order. I'll do the roll call vote, or not vote, but you don't need cups.
All right.
Jana Mulder,
Here.
Alice Larson. Here. Scott Reese,
Here.
Susan Clark, here. All right.
We have a quorum.
Indeed,
Yes, you do.
off to a good start.
Thanks for braving the cold walk.
It's okay.
All right, so we don't have any approval of meeting minutes, but that is what we will do next. Any citizen comment? Okay.
Thank you.
We do not have a consent agenda. And our discussion items, so I just have a quick orientation. It's basically just pulled from what Victor did about the Parks Board and then his orientation to City Council, kind of like a condensed version. So you'll probably recognize a lot of it. So the purpose of the Parks Board is to advise City Council and work with Parks Director regarding adequate park recreation programs and facilities for the enjoyment of all citizens. The board promotes recreation programs and recommends planning and operating policies for the city parks. We'll meet the third Tuesday, 6 p.m. We'll always meet at City Hall unless we discuss otherwise. It's 2-year terms, 6 members. Josie Baker is our student member, so she's our non-voting member. And then I will act as secretary. Any questions on that process? All right, so the rules are attend all meetings. Please just let me know if you can't attend a meeting ahead of time. Assisting Parks Director with management of city parks, events when able, playgrounds and green space. Assist with the 5-year parks plan and guide development of recreation park facilities and programs. Just a little on the Open Meetings Act. All decisions must be made in a meeting open to the public. All deliberations of a public body constituting a quorum of its members, so 3 to 5, shall take place at a meeting open to the public. You cannot deliberate or discuss city business if there are 3 board members present. Social gatherings, encounters, conferences are exempt as long as city business and public policy are not discussed. 1 member of board can canvass other members individually. Emailing and texting other board members about city business during meetings would violate the Open Meetings Act. Okay. This is just kind of overview of what we have to do for the Open Meetings Act request we do. Victor has us go above and beyond. We publish and list regular scheduled meetings in the first week of January on the website. The city goes above minimum notice requirements by including all agenda items on the notice. We post it at the post office, the IGA, and then 2 places at City Hall. So everyone should know we are having meetings, and then we post it on Facebook as well. I don't think that's on This just goes over closed session for specific reasons, personal issues, strategy and negotiation related to collective bargaining, consider purchase or lease the real property, consult with attorney. We shouldn't have to really go into closed session for much, but just so it's out there. No one can be excluded from a public meeting except for a breach of peace at that specific meeting. The board cannot require people to sign to attend a meeting. The board can establish rules for speaking at a public meeting. We'll just keep it like city council. I think what's theirs, 3 minutes, yep. A quorum, 3 to 5. A member who has a conflict of interest cannot be counted as part of the quorum for that particular issue. A motion must be made by one member and supported by another member before holding a vote. Abstaining to vote from a matter which a member does not have a conflict of interest has the same effect as a no vote. A tie vote means a motion failed, no proxy voting allowed. Roll call votes are recommended for matters of significance, such as large contracts and ordinances. Otherwise, we'll just do a yay or nay. All right, so the city structure, this is kind of like janky, because I had to add in the Parks Board. So as you can see, it goes mayor and city council, down the city manager should be Victor, and then I added in the Parks Board here on the right side. It goes down to Parks Director, and then below Parks Director be skate park director, lifeguard manager, and then below skate park staff and lifeguards. And then we do have a seasonal parks maintenance person, which is kind of considered DPW.
So the way this is set up, though, we're over on administrative services where we're really should be over on the other side with.
Yeah, I think just
Yeah.
when he added parks, that's
Yeah.
just where he threw me, so. So as Parks Director, appointed by the city manager and oversees park staff, that would be skate park staff, anyone who's a Kiwanis, park grounds, DPW or maintenance, lifeguards. Manages and oversees parks, grounds and assets, creates and coordinates rec programming and events, develops and implements parks plans and grants. I should specify, I don't oversee DPW. It's just that one individual for parks. Everything else, that's Lucas. I approve and oversee Kiwanis hut rentals, events on city property, banner and tourists, the banner at Tourist Park, food trucks, Marina Park food vendor applications. I do city trashes and public restroom maintenance, great times. Redevelopment ready community committee member also on the second Friday of each month.
Would you add boardwalk to that?
Yeah, I have it in a section.
Okay.
All right. So since some of you may not know where all the parks are in Harbor Springs, we have a cool little map. We had Topo Nexus had a student intern out of Elk Rapids named Emma. That is the wrong one. Hold on. Where am I going? There we go. This one. Her name is Emma, and she basically did like a GIS mapping of all of our Harbor Springs parks. Why is that not working? Hold on
You
one
have to click on the
second.
other one.
The other one, okay. This one?
The first
This
one, yeah.
Okay. So she worked with Lucas and I and Molly Baker over the summer, and she came up with this amazing program. And it layers all of our parks. So these are all the parks in the city of Harbor Springs. So you have Indian Town Park, you have the City Beach, Thorn Park, Marina Park, Child's Park, and they're all laid out between downtown and uptown. And the cool thing about this is they're all listed. And when you click them, it'll drag you right to that park. And it'll show you the amenities, how many picnic tables, if there's a restroom and anything nearby. And it'll also give the history of that park.
It's really nice.
And she also worked with the Historical Society.
Is that available to the public?
It will be, yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah, once we finalize everything.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about it is you can organize, let's say someone went to the website and they said, Well, I want to know where all the lower parks are. I don't want to go to the upper bluff. That's all in blue. And then if I want to know all the upper parks, that's all in yellow. And she has public bathrooms are at all these parks, picnic tables are at all these parks, and residential surroundings. And then it shows the beach access to along Glen Drive, which we do not advertise. And then it gives parks that have bay views, if people wanted to get good photographs of the bay. And then drinking water available with drinking fountains. So this is something I sent via email. We won't take our time and go through it in depth because you could be going through it for hours. But if you want to get more knowledge on our parks and where they all are in the history and kind of the amenities that are at each park, I definitely advise going through this system because it'll give you everything you need to know about every park imaginable. Any questions on that?
It's a really nice report.
Yeah, it's a really
Is that
nice
called
feature.
Harbor View Park, is that the right name of that park?
It's kind of been a discussion for a while. So what I've heard when I,
Spend time, I
no, it's
know.
okay. So like it was Harbor View Park, but I've also heard it's Hoffman Park and I've also heard it as Summer Park. So there's kind of, and that's why we did this is because and that's why it's not out on the website yet, is because Lucas, the Historical Society, and Em and I are still working on what the final names are. So there's no confusion when people come to town. They know where they're.
Where is Shea?
Shea Park.
Yeah.
Well, we have Shea Scenic Park, which would be the upper block, and then Shea Park is where is downtown, would be Shea Park.
Where the boat is.
Correct.
There's a little park above the drainage ditch.
That's what I'm trying, and
That's on Pine Street.
they've got it as Harbor View Park, which I have never heard of before.
Harbor View Park should have been the one next to the skate park would be Harbor View Park.
That's to the state park?
The next to the skate park,
The
that
skate
green
park,
space
okay.
right next to the skate park would
Where
be
the Huffman-
Harbor View.
Yeah.
And then
Where the
right
Huffman
across
House
the
used to
street
be.
would be the Shea Scenic, that little property.
I've not heard that.
I've never heard Child's Park either.
Well, I've heard it
Child
called Huffman
Park is
Park
the
after
one,
they tore the house
exactly.
down.
That's why we did this.
I didn't know they-
Child's Park is the one in between the Marina Park
Jerry.
and Ford Park, where
Jerry
like
Huffman.
all the gardens are and that
Oh,
fountain. Yeah, that's
But the
Child's Park.
people who bought that.
Tourist
gave it to
Tourist Park is where the
city.
banner
I
is.
don't know.
Okay.
He was an old
When
minister.
you put down the first one, I'd never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's just things like that. So when we start talking, that's why I sent it. Because I mean, even I sometimes get people like this park and I'm like, where am I going? So
And are those official names? I mean, that would be.
most of them are official names.
Okay.
There are a couple like the Indian Town Park. We had to get a hold of the tribe to figure out what
I was just gonna say, do
and
we-
that's what they wanted.
Do we own that?
Yeah.
Does the city own that?
Yeah, so we own that.
Rachel, where is Indian Town Park? I mean, I know where Indian Town is, but where is
Just
it?
past, it's where the old basketball court is, just past the old
That's,
lumberyard.
oh, look, I didn't realize
Yeah,
it.
that's a
Okay,
public
all right.
When they took the lumberyard out, they put those houses in there.
Yeah, okay.
So I just think as a Parks Board, it's nice to know that those are properties that we should still be looking at and
Correct. Yeah.
including in our master plan.
I mean, we've had this for several months and I highly recommend looking at it as many
Yeah.
times as you can. Because there's a lot of information and the history is good about
Yeah, yeah.
how each park was named and who donated what and things like that. So that, you know.
Well, when I
we
didn't
do
know about the
discuss-
access on Glen Drive.
Mhm.
After
Yeah,
all
there's,
these years.
because there's Washington Street access and Glen Drive access.
Yeah.
So that one, once it's finalized with Emma, will go on the website for.
The Glen Drive one will, that'll be really interesting, because they won't be happy. I go down there all the time, John, and walk, but they
it should
won't.
be on, because it's.
Oh, it should be,
Yeah, it'll be
yeah.
on, it won't
Yeah.
ever probably be a property you put like a sign, but there are like posts, so
Yeah,
that's something
but
Lucas
you
and I
really
have
have
to
to,
talk
you have to
about.
really look for them.
Yeah,
Know what
so
you're looking for,
It's
yeah.
kind of little things like that that we're still finalizing with Victor and Lucas before we put it on the website for.
What's Sneaky Beach?
That's
Sneaky
where
Beach
you're-
is Glen Drive
That's what I thought.
access. yeah,
Right.
Same
In
thing.
the master plan surveys and things,
Yeah,
it's called Sneaky
we just
Beach.
need to be consistent.
We just called it Glen Drive because we
Yeah.
thought Sneaky Beach was.
Yeah, it's really confusing. You give them-
Back in the day, it was sneaky to.
Yeah, right.
I just didn't know what it is.
And that's why we don't call it that, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I just want to go over some things that, we've currently been working on, the past part-time Parks Director, and then what I kind of took over through this summer. So in 2021, I started in July, And we were in the process of resurfacing our pickleball courts, and that is completed. That project is done. So those look much nicer. And then you haven't been in them yet, but the Ford and Beach Park restrooms, they've been epoxy painted and all the walls have been painted. And we're ordering new partitions. So
Okay, the
those will be
pickleball, is the pickleball up near the tennis
the
courts?
skate park.
Oh,
The
yeah, I can
pickleball is
see
right
that.
next to the skate park. Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see from the road just because of,
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then Kiwanis building updates. So you can see if you were at Winterfest, you saw some of them, but those are some of the updates. The 2021 and 2022 programs that we've completed are Fall Fest at Marina Park, Topo Explorers through Topo Nexus. That is every Friday through the summer, the kids explore their local parks. Park exercise classes with G. Schaumburg, skate park trips for TED fundraiser, the skate park Halloween event, the Ugly Holiday Sweater 5K, and then Winterfest at Kiwanis Park. 2022 projects, the largest one will be the park's 5-year plan, the skate park remodel and fundraising, the boardwalk grants and fundraising, new partitions at the beach and Ford Park restrooms to complete that process so they can be open this spring. And then relocate the beach playground in spring 2022. And we have a donor who is willing to pay for that relocation and put it in.
Where is
So-
it being relocated?
So it'll still be at the beach, but the plan is with Lucas, once he measures, is to put it in the grass portion, not where the fountain, not,
Over by the,
yeah. By the,
preliminary plan is over by the parking lot, by the
yeah.
depot.
Got it.
Over by
Yeah,
and
Walsh's
the
building,
reason-
kind of out of the way.
Yeah, and the reasoning for that is, it's really, the lifeguards ended up kind of being babysitters for people on the playground. It kind of separates them a little bit. And then expand parks programs, adding to the ones we have created. Are there any questions?
Rachel, are they going to put better equipment on the beach? Better playground equipment?
We will paint it, but it's actually fairly new. It's not very old. I think they said,
So they're not going to expand it or make?
correct. No, it'll be the same size. It's a pretty small location, and with the fall zones, we'll probably keep it as is.
So we don't get rid of the Canadian geese.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so, but I mean, today there had to be 100 of them on that property.
Yeah,
It's
that and the
disgusting.
harbor master building are
Yeah, it's really bad.
dealing with geese.
Rachel, do we have any standards yet for what goes under a place that?
Like
just
fall.
put it on grass, put it on mulch, use the, like the shredded.
Oh, it has to be playground certified mulch that it goes on, which you can get from certain vendors. It's not everyone that sells mulch, but there are certain ones in Michigan. And then they come in and it has to be, like, playgrounds have markings on them, and that's how high it has to be. So when we put that playground equipment in, we'll also bring mulch up to Kiwanis, because Kiwanis needs mulch, because it's cheaper to do it all at the same time, so. We'll make sure all of our playgrounds are up to snuff. Any other questions?
Is there still the disc golf at Kiwanis?
There is, yeah, it's 18 holes.
That's growing,
Is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
leagues, different things, yeah,
Okay.
that's huge.
We saw kids
It
with.
started out as like a little club
Yeah.
thing, setting that up what, 5-8 years ago or something, now it's huge.
Okay.
Yeah, disc golf is definitely.
I could throw one of those just to save my life.
Rachel, have they ever talked about doing stuff, expanding or making that playground at the baseball fields better?
Yeah, so that's on one of my lists as well.
Because we need to really, I mean, because that, John, that gets tons of use in the summertime.
Oh, every day.
Yeah.
Because of the
Yeah,
kid, you know, the kid.
Families there every day.
There is a really great, Sinclair Recreation came up over the summer to look at the beach and some other areas. They do a grant every year where, like, if they don't go through the play equipment from the year before, they'll do a grant and they'll pay for 80%, and then they do a community build. So you just need 20 volunteers to come out and build the playground, and they send out Rich Sinclair for the weekend to do it. I've done 2 of them. Those work really well because you can get really, really nice play equipment.
Right, and so how much, so they provide 80% of the money and then we provide 20%, it's like Shea Ground, John. you
Yeah,
know,
so
we do that.
20% of the money, the food for the weekend, and the volunteers. And then they send out, all the tools, directions, and,
And so so do we have to apply for that grant?
yeah, so I've already talked to Rich Sinclair about it. It won't
Okay.
be probably a next year project, but I have discussed it
Okay.
with them, and it's a pretty quick grant process. The times I've done it in the past, it's taken about a month to get approval.
Because that playground of all of our playgrounds gets the most use and it's really visible and it's the equipment is, that slide is kind of dangerous.
I agree,
Some
yeah.
of that stuff is, pretty dated.
Yeah. And the other thing to think about that playground is it's to the point where if something were to break on it, we would not be able to fix it. We would have to pull it out.
And I mean, it's dirt, it's not, I mean, it's really just, we need to fix
We're
it.
on the same page.
Yeah.
Promise. All right, any other questions? All right, so next we have chair and vice chair appointments. I will leave this to you guys to discuss. I will say my 2 cents that the chair and vice chair should be 2 people that can attend a majority of the meetings. It should be 2 individuals who can attend hopefully a majority of the programming events and be a little more hands-on, especially with the master planning. Also, it can't be Cubs. So, nothing personal.
Okay, so I would like to nominate Dana as chairperson. And I think most of you know that the Marina Park Committee was appointed in April of 2021. And really by June and July, we had executed our plan and our goals, and Dana is certainly the leader of getting things done in the right way. So I think it would be great to have her as the chair.
I second that. Second, well, whatever.
I think you all do it.
May as well make the 2 ladies in the middle, 1 and 2.
Yep. And
They'll take the
other
pressure off
thought-
you, you can play golf.
No, I can, something I'm gonna have to give up, and anybody knows me. I took up golf 10 years ago, and Tuesday night is my league night, and I never miss it, but I'm gonna miss it for this, but I'm gonna be going in February, because we've already, we've got.
Wait, what is your
plan. So,
Availability.
I'm available.
Yeah.
I'm flexible.
yes,
And I was thinking either Allison or Scott has been involved, and he's actually a 2-year person, so that might be another thought is to do it that way. So I guess I would nominate Scott.
Nobody's seconding.
I second.
You can't second yourself. But, I would be happy to do it.
I talked enough last night, I'm just gonna be quiet today.
Yeah,
You and me both.
All right, perfect. So Dana Mulder will be our chair and Scott Reese will be our vice chair. Perfect. Okay. So next is the Parks and Recreation 5-year plan. We're not gonna go super into depth with this tonight, but what I am gonna do is go over a few key points and I'm gonna send out an email. This is one of the things that Denny was working on before he left, and he's gotten pretty in depth with it. So the draft, let me go up. Okay, so here's our draft plan. Let me start with, these are the things required for a DNR grant. So what happens is we create a parks plan, okay? Our parks plan then goes to city council to get approved. And then it will get sent to DNR to get approved. And DNR will either come back and say, these are the things you need to change, or you are approved. Once DNR is approved, our parks plan, then we can apply for trust fund grants, which is a very large deal. Those are very large grants.
So Rachel, is that the only reason we want to be approved by the DNR is because of the grant situation?
Not necessarily. Most, majority of parks and recreation plans are approved by DNR just for other grant reasons.
So why would DNR care about what the city does? If it's not state or, I don't quite get why the DNR would be.
Well, I think it's the way our charter is set up.
Oh, is it? Okay, all right,
Yeah.
The city
okay.
council has to basically approve all smaller fashions. Everything still has to run through the main board.
Okay,
So
I
Steve-
got it,
Talking
okay.
about DNR, but why?
But I'm, yeah,
It's the way that,
it's
it's like
just,
we're a board under the, say, city council. So it's the way that's set up. So first it's gotta get approved by the city before it can be shipped off
okay.
somewhere
all right.
else. Plus by getting approval from the DNR,
Yeah.
that opens up the door for so many other
Okay,
things.
all right.
We're not
Yeah.
just,
About that.
say, Joe Blow
Yeah,
putting in an offer to do
Okay.
this, that, and the other thing. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
yeah,
For instance, I believe like the Harbor Commission had like a marina recreation plan for that reason.
okay,
To apply for grants, just makes the process more streamlined. So these are the things you need. Community description, administrative structure, inventory of existing parks, natural resource inventory, that's optional. Description of the planning and public input process, goals and objectives, and an action program.
Yeah, just a comment. The Marina Park Committee worked quite a bit about, along with the Harbor Commission, about bathrooms and in Marina Park and covered eating areas and things. And there is a really great park that's down on Walloon Lake called Jones Beach. And I would encourage anybody to go there and take a look at Jones Beach.
yeah, that is a nice
And
part,
you can
yeah.
see the beautiful sign about how the funds for this came from the DNR. It's a
Okay,
very
yeah.
nice sign, besides being really well done, the park. So, you know, I know right now the restrooms are, you know, maybe pushed back a little bit, but still, we need to understand, you know, what it can bring to us in
Yeah,
terms of the
yeah.
DNR.
We can ignore the table of contents because none of that is gonna be correct when we're done. So as you can see, Denny got fairly far. There's an introduction, there's a community description. I'm gonna email this to all of you, so don't worry that I'm going fast. He goes through the city charter, the population. Some of this may have to be updated, but I doubt it. I've made a
Rachel,
couple.
just one thought on the city master plan. I think one big improvement they made in this latest update is to move all that statistical stuff into
To
an
the
appendix.
back, yeah,
in
I
that.
talked about,
Yeah.
that's a good point, yeah. Seasonal population, population age, there's a missing table. So he's left a lot of notes for us to go. So the main things that this is missing is an action plan, which is perfect, and then we have to change, obviously, the structure, organizational structure. And then some tables. So this is gonna be something we'll be working very heavily on. So my plan is to send this draft to everyone along with some other examples of park and recreation master plans. I have about 3, just kind of, and you don't need to read them word for word, but you'll just kind of have an idea
other
what they're
communities
supposed to
do
look
now.
like and what communities are working towards. But this is gonna be the bulk of what we want to get accomplished. A couple other things we'll have to consider is the Harbor Commission and collaborating with them. And collaborating with, I'm trying to think.
DDA.
The DDA, the tree board, there's gonna be parts of their plans that also work into our plan, which is actually favoring us in a way, because those plans are completed. So we're not recreating a wheel in a lot of ways, so.
So Rachel, what's your timeline to have this plan done?
Ideally, I would like to have it done by fall, 2022.
Yeah.
It does take some time, but that, I know the Harbor Commission will be working on their plan over the summer. So that gives us time to collaborate with them on some things and have some joint meetings or committee meetings. And then finalize it and turn it in. I'd like to have it to city council by fall. And then hopefully DNR right after that, so.
Do you have to have a public hearing, Rachel?
Yeah, there's allowed to be a public hearing, so it's definitely gonna take a process, but we have a really good start with what we have here. Like all the research and the like what Dana said, the stuff that we can move to the back. What we're really working on is the action plan for our parks, and some of that is done for us too, and I'll email that, like the Kiwanis plans that were already made. There are some other like Marina Park plans that were made, and we can discuss if we wanna go forward with those, if we wanna say we wanna start from scratch, things like that.
Rachel, are you envisioning that some of our meetings might be working sessions where we would discuss a park and what our objectives, what are
Yeah.
our goals? Yeah, okay.
Another thing that I think is helpful, and you guys can decide if you think it's helpful, but usually once a month, I've had like, when I send out the agenda, I'll say, please visit this park before our next meeting. And that's kind of gonna be like an agenda item, that specific park. And then we can talk about things that are working well in that park, like things we'd like to change for the future, things we can change right now. But that's up to you guys. But I find that helpful because then we're in the parks and we're kind of looking around, and then it gives all six ideas, so. Any questions on that?
Just one other thought, when we were writing the tree plan, Victor came up with a really nice format for goals and objectives, if you want to reference that. And we use it as a tool. I mean, like, at a meeting, we'll say, okay, what do we want to get working on next? And what can we put a check mark in?
I would also recommend that if you haven't read a number of times, because I have the master plan survey, and as it relates to parks and recreation, there's a lot of good community input. Granted, most of that was from before COVID. I mean, so things could be a little bit different, but there's a lot of information to absorb, to say, because when we come down to it, we're not going to be able to do everything. And so, we need to be focused and accomplish and continue to accomplish,
Yeah, I think an important thing also that was brought up with city council, I can't remember I think it was the lifeguards we were discussing, was the usage of our parks. How many, and now we'll have to discuss how we survey this and how we figure this out, but who really is using our parks? Are we talking about people that are here for the weekend, or are we talking about people that are here for the townships surrounding us, Harbor Springs residents, and kind of keeping all of that in mind too. And not just for the master plan, but just future plans in general.
And we got a lot of good information at Marina Park, and having just a few yard signs that had a QR code, and we could find out where people were from, were they visitors, were they summer, were they full-time, what did they like, what didn't they like? And then how does money come in? I did take a look at the, funding and so forth. So we put together sort of what we feel is the master plan, and then some of that gets sort of roughly estimated.
Yeah, roughly estimated. And then we deal with whether, the capital improvement projects, a lot of the stuff our master plan will be in the capital improvement projects, on whether that's going to be fundraising or grants or come out of the general fund or a parks millage, if we decide to ever go that route. Parks millages are usually fairly successful, now that I said that. So we'll have to, those are things we can discuss also with funding. So, any other questions on the 5-year plan? That'll be our largest task as a Parks Board coming up for the first thing. I don't have a Parks Director's report, just because this is our first meeting.
I have a question. Any update? Can you give us any update on the grant for the boardwalk?
Yeah, so I sent an email to Benchmark this morning, actually, because the had to be historically surveyed by an archaeologist to come out for the grant. He came out right in between the holidays and met with Lucas. He doesn't see any foreseen issues there, so we're waiting on that study to come back. And we're waiting on another environmental study to come back. And we will have the grant in by the end of the month, with or without those studies. They don't need to be attached, as long as we have a form saying they're in the process of going, because sometimes, those studies can take some time for the federal government to get back to them.
So an archaeologist, where do you find them?
It was quite the search.
Digging?
Yeah.
So what are they looking for, like Native American artifacts?
Yeah, anything that may cause where you can't do construction on a certain property, but considering the boardwalk was already there and Benchmark had already done a couple.
Major tree,
So,
Yeah.
And then as it stands right now, Rachel, just for clarity, because it's not always easy to understand, the property, who owns the property where the west boardwalk is currently?
City.
The
That's all
city,
city, yeah.
but the east side is not, it's private.
Eastern has a lot of
I
private
have some of that
property.
with easements, no?
Well, it doesn't have, the east
Center,
side doesn't
Where
have.
the landing is,
Uh-huh.
about, I'm gonna say 20, 30 feet to the east towards the high school. Straight down, the city property is only about as wide as what the road is going up there.
Like the
Then the
old
rest of
right
it,
of way
like
for Spring
behind the
Street.
old Harbor
Yeah.
Light, all that, all behind them, all the property owners down through there, it's either up or below, it's easement.
It's all private.
So I live on East Bluff and from Spring Street to the high school, there's 4 homes and we all own
Down below.
down below.
Yep, correct.
So it's actually in your backyard kind of. or
My front yard.
Right.
Your front yard, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what I'm saying. So yeah, with those
Right.
guys, are so those are all easements.
Yes.
But right now, the phase one proposal or thinking is with the grant is to just do the western
Correct.
portion.
Correct,
At
and
this time.
then we would fundraise potentially for the eastern portion.
Rachel, I might have been spacing out. Did you say, so the archaeology survey, and then there's also the structural survey that you've talked to somebody about, they can come in the spring?
Yeah, there's a possibility that they would come in the spring.
And so we can't get the grant started until they survey it.
No, we can do the grant without that. Yeah,
So they were just to kind of confirm that the old structure really is not usable.
if we decide that would be a Victor,
Yeah, all that is to
Decision,
confirm
yeah.
benchmarks findings,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
but we can put the grant in
Well,
before.
where most people can't read pictures.
I'll share too. I shared this with Rachel and Victor, but I talked to a good friend of mine who's a landscape architect, as I am, and he does all sorts of parks and boardwalks and stuff like this. And his suggestion was that we engage a structural engineer to be involved during the process to kind of oversee benchmark, just to double check everything, and then also they would coordinate soil borings and stuff like that.
Problem we got with that is we'll have to outsource it way away from here, because nobody's gonna come in and second guess benchmark, because they all work closely together. Okay,
Gotcha. Well, Benchmark doesn't have resources they occasionally have to use like for, I don't know, engineering certification requirements or something.
it's never been a problem, soil bar and all that stuff, nobody's ever second guessed it.
I
Okay,
don't
so
know,
they
Joe
handle-
is a pretty good, I mean, he's pretty knowledgeable.
They've been doing it for years,
Yeah.
but with the question, that was brought up here several months ago,
Right.
I reached out to my contacts in the
Yeah.
building world and, yeah. They would review benchmarks and Lucas's, they would review all that information and they would give an assessment basically, but they're not going to go on record, one direction or the other, kind of thing.
And at what point can we put to rest the straight up and down stairs? I don't know if everybody else agrees with that.
I think, something, it's that, I'm right there and we gotta do something about that because first of all, the kids, that's a dangerous situation if those kids do run down on State Road, but, I don't know. We just have to replace it. I could live without the one that goes to the east, the split that goes
We don't need
down.
to go to Gardner Street.
Yeah, because
I think
people don't,
there's
yeah.
3 plans talked about.
Right.
One was the one where I just said, it's cheapest to go straight up with a couple
as long
landings.
as we have a couple.
We have
landings,
access, we
yeah,
have
yeah.
still the observation deck up at the top, we have straight down, we
Right.
have 2 landings for kids and
Right.
adults like me, they can't
Yeah, yeah.
run up the stairs anymore, stop and take a break. The other option B would have been if funding and everything's available, to go down to the Y.
To
Go down where the,
yeah, yeah,
go down
yeah,
to the
okay,
Y
yeah.
and then come back.
Yeah, that would be nice, yeah.
That's just a little longer scenic,
That'd
You
be
know,
ideal.
right.
And you get more
It
of a
would,
slope
but
going
again,
down.
it's
too,
gonna come
instead
down
of-
to grants,
Straight
funding,
up,
and everything
right.
else. But I don't think we need to waste $300,000 to go all the way to Gardner Street.
I agree.
Honestly, I mean, it's just my opinion. We can either do option A or B and still have a very nice access for the high schoolers, everybody uptown
Right.
to come down through there and not worry about it. The kids.
But to be clear, we're gonna detach them. We're not gonna take away the east section, because if we take it away, we lose, to ask Victor for clarification, but we lose rights if we take it down.
Correct.
So it's still going to stand.
Because that's all
So it'll
public,
be
where the
repaired.
boardwalk
bottom-
is
no,
public.
Basically, the
No.
bottom, the stairwell, way I understand it, the stairwell at Gardner Street will come away and there'll be regardless if we go to the Y or we just go straight down, there'll be a section in that center area that will be removed.
So John, where is it gonna start the same where will the stairway be right where it is now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Top and bottom, yes.
right,
It's
okay,
just a matter of what goes in the middle,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
So top and bottom from spring.
Top and bottom
From
from
spring,
spring are going
as
to
it
be
is
the same.
now,
okay.
Yeah,
location wise, right?
yeah.
And part of that is private property, because the bank, we own that.
Yeah, and she
Yes.
owns part of it as well.
Right,
Yep.
and I think,
That's why I said the city portion of it is basically as wide as the road, straight up,
right, yeah,
the
yeah,
top and the bottom.
But, you know, I'll say this, as members of the Parks Board, you know, and involved in the community, it's so important that all of us understand exactly, you know, what's going on, because, you know, I hear stories from, you know, they think we're doing X and Y and Z, and
yeah,
it's
but
not
those people
true.
don't pay attention, they're the ones,
Yeah, but
they don't, you know, if they really wanted to find out, they could.
They
you know,
can
yeah,
do
yeah,
that, but you know, I'm just
Yeah.
saying to be, for the membership to be really understanding and informed about exactly what the proposals are and what
Right.
we're looking to do is important.
I mean, the main thing is to get access
That's right, yeah.
back,
Yeah.
you know, as
Yeah.
quickly as possible.
And John, I'd like to see some lands, not some landscaping, some trees that looks, I know Tom Richards and I got into it, you know, he thinks if it's a green, we needed to keep it, but we need to tame some of that stuff, you know, like, remember where all the lilac bushes were? They were beautiful, and the city cut those down, which is fine, that's private property, I think, where they are. But, it would be nice to have some of that, I don't know, more landscaped, and not around around the boardwalk, especially at the top, because some of that, you can't even see.
I think with the new observation deck, we're gonna have to trim some
You're
trees.
gonna have
So you
to
can
trim
see.
some trees, yeah, or take
You know,
them out.
So we're gonna get back into that whole discussion
Yeah,
too.
yeah, just,
So, I mean, but I know the observation deck on top is gonna get bigger.
that'd
So,
be great.
you know,
Yeah,
you're gonna have
that's
more
used a
room
lot.
up top.
Other than that,
So,
the grant, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna say, other than that, the grant is how the boardwalk is on that side, on the west side. It'll stay the same. It's
Except the landing will be bigger,
correct.
okay, and then,
And the lighting will be different.
yeah,
And then Rachel, the structure, or maybe you know too, Jen, the structure will be
Steel
steel.
underlay.
And then are we looking at cable railings?
Yes, yes.
it will be wood though, won't it, John?
Yes.
The
Yeah,
part you see,
I think
okay,
wood
yeah,
was-
okay.
wood was the lesser expense, because composite, well, everything is went,
You mean the treads?
yeah,
Okay,
But do the treads sit in a metal frame?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the structure would is all steel, as
Steel,
I
and
understand it.
and the posts and the railing would be steel, and then
Yep.
there'd be steel cable between the posts.
Yep.
And for that observation deck, it's so cool. You'll see classes out there,
Yeah.
you know, throughout the year. And so having a larger observation deck will be awesome because the
Well, I stop there
school
walking the
kids use
dog.
it all the time,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So
As
you
long
give
as-
more space.
as long as they trim those trees and keep
Yeah.
that, keep that where you can actually see.
Yep.
So the next step will be applying for the grant.
And how long will that take, Rachel? I mean, once you apply, what's the time frame?
It's hard to say
Okay.
necessarily. Best case scenario, I would say a couple months,
Okay,
but it really depends
that-
grant to grant.
you probably said that, but where is this grant coming from if we get it?
The EDA,
Okay,
economic development. And then
And then we're hoping for, you're gonna ask for 80% or
I'm
something?
asking for 80. Whether they will land there, I don't know. Most of the grants will be 80%. They said, worst case, they'll come back with 50, which is still,
And the rest comes out of donations or general fund or
Correct.
somewhere else. Okay.
let's say hypothetically, we do not get the grant.
yes.
Then we would look at either fundraising options, we would look at design if you needed to do the straight and narrow up and down, but that's when we'll open it to other ideas.
And we're talking 500?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
the grant had to be over 500,000.
It has to be over, but what are you talking about?
It doesn't-
800 for the grant and 200 for the fundraising.
In today's cost, it'd probably be $1 million to redo the
Yeah.
complete system.
Yeah.
So we're asking for 800,000? No.
No, we're
No.
asking just over 500
Just over
because they will
500
accept grants
Was
under
the
500.
average,
Okay.
it was
It
what
says
the predicted
500,
cost
but-
was to go to the Y and
And for
come
the,
back.
okay, and the 500 is for the west side only.
Yeah, to the intersection there, and coming back.
So John, we're looking at maybe $300,000 more or plus. We can't do everything for 500, right?
We could go, we can do the westerly side, which is
Okay,
like
but if
down
you
to
want
that
the
Y,
Y,
turn and
okay.
come back
Okay.
towards Spring Street.
Okay.
We could cover costs there, yes.
Okay.
So Rachel, we have to wait, so do we have to wait for the archaeological survey then? For you
Not
to-
necessarily to turn the grant in. I emailed them just because the SHPO study can take some time. So when I emailed Networks Northwest and the EDA, they said that we can turn it in as long as we have something concrete saying we did contract someone out there in the process. They don't foresee any hiccups and they sign off.
So what is
on it.
your goal for when to get it off your desk?
I'd like to turn it in before January 31st. I'm meeting with Victor next week. Only because we don't know how long those funds will be there and they can be pulled at any time. So the sooner the better. They may be there midsummer, they may not be. So I'd like to get it turned in sooner rather than later, especially while a lot of communities haven't turned them in yet. I think there are only like 2 other communities that have turned them in and they're not for similar projects, which is nice. So I think our odds will be
And
better.
then you said it might take a couple months to turn around, so that.
Yeah, it really
That'd
depends.
then be the end of March,
Yeah.
right? So then 3/31. And then do you think this is a project that we could get out for bids and do something about this year? John, you might have some insight in that.
Yeah, but
Depends on when we get everything back. It'll take a month to get, probably rebid it.
Yep, so 4/31.
And
This is
then
all really
depending on,
optimistic.
it's gonna depend on contractor schedules. If it's like everything is right now,
It's not in the fall, not till next year.
chances of a fall build are possible.
And who would
If
build
it's
it?
like, I mean, you take my company, for instance, if I land this project, I got a meeting with tomorrow, I'm done for the year. I won't be able to do what I have already. So I mean, and every contractor across the board, any good builder
It's
let's
booked
say,
up for a year.
is, well, booked till 2024. So, and this is a specialty
So
thing,
John,
not just
this
Joe
is
Blow.
your in your wheelhouse though, right? Like, I mean, what?
As far
type
as
of-
estimating and,
What type of
lighting.
contractor? And then you would sub out the part that may be,
correct.
okay.
Yeah, like this project, I mean, I could, with my contracting license, I could bid it out. Yeah, it's whatever, it's just a specialty thing, because there's only certain people that'll drive helical piles, kind of thing. Then you gotta go to a fabricating
Are those
company,
the
and there's only a
screws?
handful of fabricating companies in northern Michigan. So it try to find somebody that's not already booked with some of these monster houses
Right.
going up that are all steel structured. I mean, it's gonna be a task.
won't Benchmark handle the bidding process when it comes to that?
Well, that's the city could do it, and see, that's always been my bitch at the
Yeah.
council level. We contract, there's things that can be done in-house to save money instead of contracting out.
Benchmark, I think,
To
adds like
benchmark.
10%.
Yeah,
That'll be a city council.
GC.
well, it is, and
Victor
it's a
decision
thing
rather
I've
than us.
argued with for years, of why we're contracting somebody out when and that stuff like that can be all done in-house. That's nothing big. We could try contract them to do the drawings, put everything in order, but we don't need them to babysit the bidding process. That's all sealed bids, can all be sent to here. Victor, Nick, whatever, can open the bids. We don't need to pay somebody a couple $100 an hour to do that. But anyway, I mean, I'll
You, of
help,
course,
I'll
have a
help all
special
over.
place in your heart for the Parks Board, so
Oh, yeah.
if this happens, you might be able to slide a couple projects and.
Well, I might be able
Yeah.
to find the right people to get it worked out. So,
So Rachel, if we get the complete grant that we want, I'm still unclear. What are we responsible for any money raising or not?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I will apply for 80% for them
Okay,
to figure in 80%. They may say, yes, 80% is sufficient. They may counter and
Okay.
say 50.
okay,
And then if they say we'll pay for 50, then we would be responsible either out of the general fund or fundraising for the other 50%.
Okay,
And right now, let's be clear, we know the general fund doesn't have the money.
right, it's hard to, if
So,
you're not gonna
I
have
mean,
leaf collection, then it's hard to say we're
well,
gonna
that's gonna
build,
be,
yeah.
gonna be the key is we need to find out if we're
We
gonna
do-
get gifted some
Well, we do
funds.
have a group that's kind of standby, ready, you're kind of involved in that or something.
What is the,
For fundraising.
where are they, or where are you guys at as far as that goes?
Waiting for the 501c3 approval from the
Okay.
government,
Yep.
so.
So once timing might just work out, I mean, we could figure 3 months, probably by the time she gets things turned in, by the time maybe we hear back.
Because I think we have some, I
It's
think
gonna be
we
a
have some
spring, I
interested
mean, this is gonna be
people who
something,
are
we'll all jump on, in the spring.
interested.
Yeah, it's really grants, just like applying for five, it's a very step-by-step process. And once you're completed with your steps, you're kind of waiting
It's a hurry up and
For,
wait thing, which
yeah,
sucks.
for
Because
someone
we
to
know
give you a yes or
this is
no.
on everybody's mind and it's a conversation every day, every week.
Well, it looks
But
pretty.
there's just
yeah.
nothing that we can do until some things are in
So
front of
John
us.
slash
Yeah.
Nancy, is there zero money in the budget for 2022 for the boardwalk?
Correct.
I think what, it was in the capital improvements plan tentatively for what, Rach?
24.
24,
Yeah.
knowing that we could move
We
it
can't do that.
forward.
Correct,
To
if we move it
23.
Closer if we get some of the money.
correct. So if they came
Yeah.
back and they said, we're gonna pay for 80%, but you need to give
Right.
us the answer, obviously then city council
We'll
and
take a look at
push
it.
to say, we need to do this because the grant's only gonna
Yeah,
stay there for so
Yeah, the
long.
grants only last
Correct.
for so long and
And-
we don't want to lose.
yeah.
That's
And
the,
grants wanna
other
know you have.
conversation.
funds, so just
I
pay
know it.
And something else, we just have to get bumped and we move the boardwalk forward if we were looking for the 20%.
and there's no doubt the boardwalk is a very hot topic and it's a priority for, a lot of things. It's just gonna be how are we gonna pay for it?
But we didn't feel this, we should set the money aside for this year because we don't have enough money to set 100% aside. So it makes more sense to see what we can get from a grant and then figure out, that capital improvement plan is a 6-year plan, so.
But John, somebody can give money to the city with the stipulation that it goes. to-
Earmark it, just like they do for
Yes,
the
that's what I
police, they
thought,
like to
yeah.
do
Okay,
for the
that's what
fire
I thought,
department.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
A donation could come in,
Okay. yeah,
it'd be
like the fire
earmarked
stuff,
strictly
yeah, okay,
for
I got it, yeah,
boardwalk.
all right.
improvement.
Okay.
Correct.
And I think people will be generous for this too.
Oh, yeah, I know,
If it's-
I think that raising
think
the
if
money
we
is not gonna.
Do it right. Yeah.
I think if we have a good plan and everybody knows what the plan is and they know X amount of money is already sitting there waiting, and we can say, here's how much more we need. People are a lot, I think, more likely to donate, knowing that this is the goal. And once we hit that goal, then we can make it happen. Right now, there's so many balls in the air about it, it's hard. We can't say, here's the plan yet, because we're waiting to hear for the grant.
Do they have a date when they're announcing the recipients?
No, so most grants, yes, are like that. This grant is just as long as the funds are available, so there's not even an end date for it. They just say, they recommend by January 31st. And that's basically them saying these funds may be here 4 months from now, they may not. And so, because other communities are gonna pitch in theirs and when it's gone, it's gone.
So and they don't have a processing timeline, kind of like.
Not necessarily,
it takes us 2 months or whatever.
Somewhere you could like reach out in March.
Yeah, so we work with Networks Northwest in Traverse City, and they've been really great about giving like information, because I gave them basically a list of projects. I said, hey, like these are our top 4. What is the best fit and what are other communities applying for? Because I don't want to go against them. I want something totally different. And that's when we landed on the boardwalk, because some of the other grants are for marina and harbor projects. So when we apply, I'll probably wait like a few weeks, then I'll kind of check in and
Take over
keep an
buy
eye
some
on, yeah.
donuts or,
So.
yeah. That sounds good. Glad you're on top of it. and
So.
Glad you're here, by the way.
No, I think that's one thing, let everybody know, I mean, it's in the process. There's a lot of people think that we're not doing anything, unfortunately, but I mean, it's just a hurry up and wait thing, which sucks.
Yeah,
I'm probably one of the more impatient ones, so.
Really?
Rachel, out of curiosity, what were the other 3 on your top 4 hit parade?
I had the skate park on there. I had the Marina Park restroom. There was another one. And Kiwanis. was
I
another
think
one,
those-
and then the
yeah.
boardwalk.
I think those are.
But
yes, four
because
good
they said they
projects.
were really into, they were really looking for like trails and like accessibility and outdoors and like social distancing. So the boardwalk was a good, because it's good for the school children, it's a good reason. Also like the workers in Harbor Springs are not gonna have to park down the city, especially if we put in paid parking, it kind of saves them that. And then just for the tourists, like the view and the observation deck for the classes. So there were a lot of aspects that they liked about it. So that's what we were.
Run stretch definitely get used a lot in June, July and August, for sure. So
Yep, and then we've got Kiwanis in the winter, Marina Park all year round.
And
really.
those will be great once we're done with the master plan for trust fund grants. Those are two I'm kind of saving for DNR.
Okay.
So those are perfect fits, especially Kiwanis. So that would
So
be
once this grant's in, we could start getting serious about some of these other grants.
correct. Yep, once the master plan is finished, we would apply for a trust fund grant. That's the largest DNR grant,
And
You
is
can apply
that,
for it.
you have to match part of it or?
50%. So again, we would have to work with city council, making sure we have donations, but we've already had a few come forward about donations to Kiwanis, so. And that's just something we'll have to discuss on what our top list is and what our priorities are. You know, priorities change with,
I think the more events we can do, you know, at the parks to showcase them too and get people really excited, that's gonna really help when we put our hand out for money.
yeah, just that little thing we did at Kiwanis brought back a lot of,
That was so cool.
you know, life to a few things. So
And it was such a
Especially the old
cold day
timers.
and there was
Still,
still
yeah.
a ton of people came out.
yeah, I mean, how long ago was that park functioning with the tow rope and?
That's this guy. I've been here 40-some years, but I
I'm gonna say mid-80s.
was gonna say it
So-
was pretty marginal when our kids were
Right,
little. 'cause that was
so-
mid-80s.
I think the toll road stopped somewhere in the mid-80s,
So if you think about it, most of the families in Harbor Springs,
Was more,
early 90s.
90s.
because my youngest was born in 81. Probably like not in the 90s, early 90s, because he skied there. I mean, Daniel broke his leg there when he
You
was
ski there
5.
long after I was
So
gone.
that was,
Yeah.
so probably 1990, it started to go downhill a little bit, you know?
So if we think about it, anyone who's moved here in the past 30 years doesn't really know all that Kiwanis has to offer. And that's the way we have to think about it, is those people that came out to Kiwanis Park have never seen it like that. And that's really a cool concept. And people don't sometimes don't understand parks until you do an event like that and they see the potential that it has. So that's why we do things.
So Rachel, with the skate park, are they gonna be doing that soon?
The goal for that is fall 22, yes.
Okay, so then, if that happens, then the ice skate rink is gone, correct?
It's
Okay,
already gone.
so-
It's already, the ice
It's
skating
already
rink is
gone.
already done.
Yeah.
We've already closed down the ice skating rink.
Okay,
Until
okay,
we-
so are we gonna move that to Kiwanis?
Correct.
That is the,
And is that
future
gonna be
thought.
for next winter, or no?
It's in
I-
the,
I'm gonna say probably 23.
Okay,
I
because we
I don't
don't
think
have the
anything will
money
happen at
for,
Kiwanis this year, as far as something like that goes, because we'll have to look at the plan. Danny had a nice
Yeah.
concept plan, like
I'll
two of
send
them, I
those,
think.
yeah.
okay,
We'll have to, as a group, we'll have to look at that, kind of
yeah,
tweak it a little bit. My personal thought was the skating rink was a little too big, kind of thing. I think kind of simplify it like we had back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Down here, because skating rink was where the softball diamond is now.
Susan,
They
have you
used to be a
seen, have
skate
you
park.
seen those plans, the two alternate plans for the park? Maybe Rachel, you could.
I'll email those
Skate
with the
park, yeah, you know
master plan.
something, this sounds terrible, because one of my little grandson likes to go up there. I have a hard time with that, being as you come into the city, because I think it's real trashy looking, and it's gonna be much nicer looking, I agree with that. But it's just like, really, do we need a skate park right in that piece of property coming into town? But I understand the background to it, and, you know, it was in memory of a, you know, a really nice gal and all that, and this guy sounds like he was a really great guy. But I personally don't like the skate rink there. I mean, not, you know, I don't know, it just seems to me, but it's not gonna move, and I understand that. So hopefully there'll be some landscaping, so we don't see it coming in.
I think the nicest part about remodeling the skate rink personally is when you come into town, when those fences are down and
Yeah.
the way Evergreen does their skate park, you won't know it's a skate park.
And that's what I'm
Which will be
looking for,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna blend in.
Yeah.
The lights will kind of blend
Yeah.
in with the sports
But I
fit.
feel sad that we don't have the ice skating rink, because my kids spend a ton of time up there, you know?
Yeah.
The other idea
But-
we discussed is a lot of communities will have their ice skating rink right downtown, doing it in Marina Park, but what we were thinking is just so windy down there.
That's not gonna work. Yeah, I don't. I think Kiwanis is perfect on that side. Move
I
that
think we can
playground
turn
and make
Kiwanis back into a very nice park
Yeah,
at a reasonable cost. I don't think we
Right.
need to get crazy with it. at
we
all.
could make, you know, that.
Rachel and I wrote, speaking of Kiwanis, I guess, Brandon, we were talking about, did you look into those dates?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna go into Winterfest. I was gonna add it to an agenda item. I was just kind
Oh,
of waiting
that's
for
fine.
us to get there.
One more thing I'd like to bring up too is, I think publicity should be a big part of our plan. Like, outreach to the community, here's what we're doing. Here's information about our parks. Like, we started this whole thing, I don't know if anybody's even seen it, the tree board in the paper that's called the Tree Canopy. And every month we answer a couple of frequently asked questions about the tree board, or about the tree plan. And then we also feature a specific tree. So this is every month, and we could do something like that for parks, like,
I think that's. gonna
here's
be
the,
a-
here's, oops. That's me. This month we're featuring Kiwanis Park. Here's a little bit about the history of the park. Here's some of the ideas, that we've got. And then I think another thing that would be good for us to think about too is a Friends of the Park group that could help at events and could help with fundraising.
I have started volunteer list, anyone that Josie has sent to us from the National Honor Society, any Margot friend who helped us. So I do have a volunteer list going, so we could kind of base it off that for events. Yeah, that's
A
a
bunch
great.
of community members would love to come along too.
Yeah, I
This
would,
is the fun board.
I would say, for the new members here, the Fall Fest and the Winter Fest that the Marina Park Committee did, we didn't spend very much money. There were donations, so it was not a big financial thing that we had to deal with. And so I think, a spring fling, we should be thinking about right now, where should the spring fling be? Which park, what should it be, so that we can execute it and get it together sometime in
Great
May.
idea.
Well, we
And
probably,
that fall festival that you guys did was
The
phenomenal.
Fall Fest, I would say 400 to 500 people attended at Marina Park.
There are a couple other things to consider too, along with that, is that technically we own the football stadium. So if there's not something going on for the schools, we can use that property and that stadium for concerts or things of that
Bonnie
nature.
was talking about that too.
Yeah,
starting to bring
Those
in some
Little League
music.
fields,
Used to.
like we
Decades
own
ago.
those.
I think
So
that'd be
like
great.
revenue building, like baseball, things like that brings in a lot of money to communities, baseball. A lot.
Yes,
Tournaments.
we had that in Northville. We
Yeah.
had on the states.
I mean, parking, things like that, I mean, that's all things are going to be discussed heavily. But if we're looking at like revenue builders and things like that,
But the city owns the baseball fields, but the schools keep them
Leases
up,
them.
right? Correct.
School leases them.
Okay.
school leases them along with the football field.
They have probably 100-year lease for a
Yeah.
dollar.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's,
That's like the soccer
But, I
field.
mean,
We have
it's just
99-year lease on the soccer fields up on,
same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So back to Scott and the spring fling, what about an Easter egg?
We have several thousand Easter eggs. Yeah.
Well, again, I mean, that'd be something to do with Kiwanis.
Yeah.
You could lay it out just on that upper hill,
Right.
around the playground area and even down around into the woods a little bit on the Frisbee golf.
April 17th.
Do it there,
And have
or
that
maybe we
as-
focus on another
Is it-
park
is
like
it maybe-
Thorn Park.
And maybe do it as a registered event, a free event, but registered so that we gauge how many Easter eggs, you can hide per child.
Yeah.
Also, that enchanted forest at the Highlands has been
That's so
so
cool.
successful. You could do something like that up at Marina Park where the Frisbee,
Kiwanis.
just
Kiwanis.
Kiwanis, where the
Because
disc
the
golf
trails
is
are already,
next
trails are
year.
already in place.
Yeah, the trail is there.
I mean, it's.
There's just
You guys
ideas.
have
Yeah.
done that, that is so cool.
Yeah, it is.
There's
Also-
power, we could get power right out of that, building at the top of the
That
hill.
wasn't cheap either. I mean, that'd be a good money maker.
Yeah, another thing is that I think Marina Park Committee was successful because we had somebody who's, the landscape architect, Dana and myself, I have like I have ideas. And then, Margot is in touch with the schools because she has a young person in the schools. And the entertainment came from Bonnie, so it was like a good mix of what are you interested in or what do you know about type of thing. So we need that too, to continue.
Something I want to stay conscious of is a Parks Board, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn, you're the Parks Board. But is my personal belief is parks, if we can, we should keep things free. I mean, obviously, we want to create revenue. I understand what the city is dealing with, like if we sell like hot dogs at an event or something like that, but like an Easter egg hunt or something, like there's just a lot of things in the city that people need to pay for. It'd be nice to keep the kids' events and a lot of the stuff we do free to the locals. I mean, we are here for the citizens and it's a public service. It's something technically they already pay for.
But yeah,
So-
just like maybe concession, like. food.
Yeah, like concessions, if we brought in tournaments, obviously there'd be a fee involved. But I love the idea of the Easter egg hunt. That's something fairly simple. I mean, hours of filling Easter eggs, but we could all do that.
But and
Yeah.
then if you did a pre-registration, you could say, okay, we'll plan on 10 eggs per kid, kind of get you
Yeah,
with that.
exactly.
That way you.
I see what you're saying.
I just
Yeah.
know that.
I get an idea where they're coming from.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
think a lot of the great comments we had from Fall Fest is that it was free for kids and they could just kind of show up and do activities. And I had so many comments that were like, where do we pay? And I'm like, you don't pay. And they looked at me funny. So,
Same thing at Winterfest.
yeah, so I think it's just, that's something we need to keep in mind, that we are a public service and, we want to get people out there who, may not be able to afford or want to do the other things with their kids in the summer. So just something to keep in mind.
I still think, we need to focus if we're gonna do events more, cultural events. People really, the checkers were really used and the chess games were really used. And, there's been talk about a euchre tournament and other kinds of things like that are, not just cotton candy or,
Right.
a carnival.
Rachel, were you gonna say anything about summer camp? Or is that for a future year?
It's for a way future year. Yeah, we're still in talks about that. So I've been speaking with Topo Nexus and the schools about their harborage childcare in the summer. And our future vision is to do a summer camp program similar to Petoskey's summer camp program that they do at the Winter Sports Park. It obviously be a smaller version. We decided not to do it for 2022 due to budget reasons and licensing issues. But basically what the school is going to do is base that harborage program more as a summer camp and summer camp activities. It'll be more outdoors based in our parks and kind of market it in a different way.